All right. What's going on?
How you doing, man?
Good. I'm like trying to look between two different cameras, but I think I'm going to go with this one. So if we're not looking at the folks on Instagram, then we're not looking at the folks on Instagram. But let's go. Me and you.
Let's let's go, let's go, let's go. So let's just start off. I just want to start off by acknowledging you just sent your child, your baby to college. And
Yeah. Weird.
why don't you tell like parents that have to go through that what it's like? I mean, I remember it like yesterday when my daughter went to college. It was like
Yeah.
weird.
I was saying to my wife, like, it's such an interesting feeling because on one half, you're like, they're ready. This is exciting for my son, who's a baseball player. He's excited to go play baseball. He's worked super hard to get there.
Mhm.
And then on the other end of it, it's like there's been somebody in your house for 18 years that you
I
expect to
know.
see every day. You're used to their voice, you're used to seeing them.
Yeah.
And then to come home and not have that, it's yeah, it's kind of it's an emotional thing, but it's a roller coaster. It's so up and down. So we're up and down. We just got home last night at 11 at night, and we're getting used to it. But I think we have enough trips planned to go see him that he's probably going to be sick of us in no time short. So yeah, so it's good.
Yeah.
We're excited though. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, well, that's
eh,
that's great. So I'm glad we're here. So we're going to talk about something really cool today. You want to like introduce the conversation to
yeah.
everybody?
I mean, I think we've kind of started these conversations on all these different platforms, you and I, just of the things we're thinking about and the things we come across. And one that came up for us this week was just this idea of execution, how important quality execution is in running really any business or career. I mean, this doesn't just apply to real estate, but you and I are real estate people, so we think in those
Mhm.
terms. And the idea of having a plan and executing, we're kind of coming into business planning season right now.
Mhm.
So I think we're starting to think about, hey, it's the coming up on the fourth quarter. It's time to get ready for 2026. And then as we have that conversation, we start thinking, like, is anyone actually going to do these plans? Or like, how are
Mhm.
these plans going to translate into action and
Mhm.
go from there? So I think we're going to kind of well, we kind of like mistakenly fell into this. I think as you and I were chatting, we realized there's like kind of like a quadrants, like it's almost like a Eisenhower matrix of, you know, these different quadrants of how having a plan and execution relate to each other. So I think we're just going to go through the four quadrants and share our thoughts on that, and kind of maybe give an idea to folks that are watching this. You know, is this you? A little self evaluation, because we all, like, I
Right.
mean, I go through the quadrants, I look at them like I'm definitely got sprinklings of all of it. So I think let's just dive in.
Well, interesting to me about these four quadrants is are that they directly relate to how well you'll scale and grow. And if you want to think of it in
Mhm.
the simplest terms, how much money you will make.
Yep.
And so when we look at the four quadrants, and we're going to build these four quadrants around planning and execution, and we're going to describe these four different quadrants and the personality types within these quadrants because we
Yep.
work with these people all day long and we see them and we feel it. And I'm just going to give everybody an okay pass that if you find yourself in one of these quadrants more than one of the other quadrants, it doesn't mean you can't climb into a different quadrant. It doesn't
That's
mean
right.
you can't change. And the first step, really, with improving yourself is figuring out where you are and getting clear. And then maybe even understanding. And maybe we can talk a little bit about this, Dave, why they stay stuck in a quadrant or why they're not moving out of the quadrant. So we can really dig into, I think, a lot of the psychology in this because when Dave and I are mentoring or coaching business owners or agents or anybody, you start to see similarities, don't you, in like the way people act, the way people do things, and people do fall into kind of buckets or quadrants.
Yeah, and I think you said it really well at the beginning. It's understanding which quadrant you fall in is kind of half the battle, and then figuring out how to move to the quadrant you want to be in. So I think where we start with it is the folks that have no plan, right? And I think that's a pretty big group of people, especially in the real estate world. Like, there's no plan, but there's no execution either. And that's a tough place to be. And I often wonder, I'm like, here you are, you're going to go start a business. Let's pretend it's not real estate. Let's think about like any other business out there in the world. Would you go and do it and have no plan and no execution in any other business? And oddly enough, real estate seems to be the one where this happens more often than not. So I'm curious, like what you think about that is this quadrant of no plan, no execution, and how would somebody know if they're in that space? Because I think when I started in the business, I was a little bit in this. Like I had ideas, but it wasn't a plan, right?
Mhm.
And then I had my ideas, and then I didn't execute on my ideas. So I was the no plan, no execute for probably the first 11 months. Like I
Yeah.
might have been the worst real estate agent you could possibly think of. Tons of ideas, but no plan, no execution.
Well, I mean, you said it happens a lot in the real estate world, and it probably happens a lot for us because we're in that world. But I think it
Yeah.
happens in business all the time. I
Hmm.
really do. I think that a lot of people enter a business or enter some project or something, and they don't have an actual plan, and they don't know where to start, so they don't execute. And these people, interestingly enough, they fall into a category almost like the perennial student.
Hmm.
They're trying to figure out the plan. They're trying to figure out the execution, and nothing actually ever happens. They don't know
I
what to
almost think of
plan.
like these are just like idea people. They've got all the ideas, right? And not that they're bad ideas. They're just it's all ideas all the time,
Hmm.
right? And it's like I think I was this way a little bit. Like it's like I would get through a weekend, and then I would come in on Monday, and I'd be like, okay, I got a new idea, right? But
Hmm.
there's no real further thought behind that. Like I think that's a really dangerous place to stay and be, Peter, um, because nothing happens in that quadrant. That is the nothing happening quadrant. Now,
You're right. You're right. They're not. You're
I don't
absolutely
think they're
right.
the perennial
It,
student. I
they're
think the
no, they're
next
not the
quadrants
student.
that
That's going to
no.
be this other group we're going to get into. But they're. You're right. They have this idea. I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to start a restaurant. I'm going to do this, and they have an idea and nothing else. And that's what I think
Mhm.
you're saying, and that's 100% correct. And they're what's really interesting is they'll quit their jobs, they'll quit whatever they're doing, and they'll enter that field or that business without a plan, without any idea how they're going to execute, and then they're there, and it's like, what do I do now?
Mhm. So what do you say to that? What do you say to that person, the idea person? Because the ideas aren't bad. Like
Right.
and that's the thing. I just because you're in this part, I don't think we should put that part down because there's probably some really great innovation. And like I think about for me, I started a lot of the stuff with the ideas. I mean, I think that everything starts with an idea. I guess we should say it's like, but then you got to like move it forward. So I would think that probably it's putting those ideas on paper or documenting your ideas, and then I think actually spending the time to think the idea through to correlate it with some kind of plan is the way out of
Mhm.
this quadrant. I mean, I guess you could start executing on those ideas, and we'll talk about that. But like in my mind, it's idea to plan, and then kind of go from there.
I think there's a little bit of naivety in this. I
Hmm.
mean, I wonder how these people actually think it's going to happen.
That's how
And
I
why
was.
and why would they enter this with like and they sometimes have it feels like conviction. I don't know if it is conviction, but it
Hmm.
feels like they really want to do it. They're enthusiastic, but they really haven't thought about how they're going to do it, what it's going to take, any of that. And so they really have nothing to execute on yet. And I think these are the same people that start looking to maybe their partners or their company or joining a team or someone to kind of grab them by the hand and help them through this somehow.
Hmm. And again, it's not bad. It's just that's where you are. You're just you got ideas. All right, so now you got to do something with it, which kind of leads us into our next group, which would be plan but no execution. And this is the perennial student that you're talking about. There are a lot
Mhm.
of these folks. They're the ones in all the classes. They're the ones in the, I don't know, seminars and going to the retreats,
Hmm.
and they're getting all the information, and they're writing the plan for the plan, and it's like the getting ready to get ready kind of
Hmm.
group. Um, that can be not great as well. And
Well,
I know
here's the real thing. And if you think you might be in this group that has a plan, but you're not executing your plan, ask yourself this: am I too much of a perfectionist?
Mhm.
Does everything have to be so perfect before you act or execute that you just freeze? You can't do anything because you're just not sure. You haven't, you know what I mean? It's like, is your
Right.
plan perfect? Is your execution perfect? What I mean? All of that paralyzes a lot of people, Dave,
Yeah.
because like even us right now, like we're fooling around on this podcast, right? Let's just be honest. We're playing with this. We're working on it. We're trying to figure out like the dynamics of a great podcast. And what's really cool about it is we're executing on it. We're going to talk about it afterwards. We're going to iterate and get better and do it better and do it better and do it better because we always do. I mean, Apple phone, for crying out loud, constantly iterates,
Yeah.
17.1, 17.2, 17.3. So execution is really important, but they had a plan. They built this thing. So people that think you're going to come out of the box perfect, that's going to stop you in your tracks every time. You're going to have a plan
Yeah.
with no execution.
Yeah. And the other, I guess, aspect of that is, when do you have enough of a plan? Right? Like, when does the planning stop and the execution start? Does it? And I'm an advocate of these folks that are in this like constant getting ready to get ready, not getting out and do it. For me, it's probably a couple things. It's either perfectionism, which is not great because it's never going to be ready, or it's fear. It's they've got the plan, they stare at it, they know what needs to happen, but then like the fear sets in about actually doing something with it.
Mhm.
And that's probably the most common. And I also would say that it's also uh probably the wrong plan. If you're that, I mean, it's okay to have a little bit of fear, but it's like I think there's a lot of people that put a plan together of like what they think they should be doing,
Mhm.
right? Rather than thinking through what can I see myself being successful with when they're planning. So it's like
Mhm.
as we come in, we were talking at the beginning of this, like we come into business planning season, right? I'll look at a lot of plans and I just see a lot of like, this is what I think I should be doing. There
Mhm.
hasn't been a lot of like sitting back and visualizing and thinking, hey, I think I could see myself doing this regularly, consistently, and being successful with it, even if it is outside the box. I have somebody
Mhm.
I work with that plays pickleball as a source of business regularly, like 4 times a week. And it's because she can see herself on the court. She can see herself hanging out with the people that she plays with afterwards. She can see herself staying consistent because she feels good after she does it. Like,
Mhm.
that's so important to the planning aspect of things, Peter. Because if you can't see it and you can't, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't see myself making a cold call. I can't see myself doing the, knocking the doors. I hate when, I knock doors. Like, that is a real fast way to get into having a plan but not executing. And I think that's an important
Yeah, it's got to be
distinction.
your plan, doesn't it? It has to be authentic to you. It's got to be something that you're willing
Yeah.
to do. It actually has to blend into the lifestyle you want to live too. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of people will grab somebody else's plan or try to steal someone else's plan because they think that's what they should be doing or who they should be or whatever. But yet the sacrifices needed to do those things or the lifestyle required to live that way or not, is not in line with who they are as a human being. And I think it's
And
so key. What?
sorry, you said something really important there, and I want to kind of just hit it while it's fresh.
Okay.
Is um, you said they grab someone else's plan, and
Yeah.
I think this is true outside of real estate as well. There's so much comparison that goes on,
Hmm.
and comparing your business to somebody else's. I don't think it's bad in terms of looking at somebody else's and wanting to model after them,
Or
but
competitiveness is okay too.
competitiveness, yeah.
Right, right.
But going and using comparison or the negative sides of comparison as the way to build your plan is also can be really toxic.
Or
And
fear of, if I'm not as good as or doing with that person, then I'm meaningless or I have no place in the world, or however you're internalizing it, which could be different for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
But I think a lot of us will look at somebody and think, "Oh my gosh, if I'm not the number one realtor in town, then I'm a failure." And that nothing could be further from the truth.
right.
Nothing, nothing.
And and it's like these things kind of keep we're totally in business planning mode because each
Hmm.
time you say something like, oh, what about that, you know like taking the top number one agent in your market's business plan and applying it to your business plan might also not be realistic,
Right,
because think about the investment, or think about, they're in a different part of their career. A
right.
lot of times when I'm working with somebody, and I don't know where their business at. They're mid tier and they want to get to the top. Sometimes that business plan just has to be really simple so that they can execute the simplicity at the
Hmm.
highest level that they possibly can. It's
Hmm.
not about taking a really complex, heavily invested financially plan and applying it to a mid-tier producer and pulling them up. It's let's nail the basics. And I think that's a really important point about planning with no
Yeah.
execution, is sometimes the plan's too complex or the investment is too heavy and you can't keep up. So you don't stand a chance of executing.
Right. Another big fear people have on or planning and executing is also this idea that what if they're leaving something on the table? What if their plan isn't
Yeah,
what
it's
they
like
really
FOMO.
want to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's like a hesitation that maybe they're leaving something out. What if they're cutting themselves short?
Yeah,
That's another thing. And so people will continue to work on their plan and think about their plan and try to perfect their plan just to make sure they're covering all the bases. Because why work on something if it's not what you if it's less than what you could have done? You know what I mean?
for
There's
sure.
that too, right? And
Yeah,
so there's all of these underlying fears that people have about committing to a plan, committing to executing a plan. And then there's always the fear, Dave, and this is one we don't talk about enough, but I think a lot of people, if they were really to be honest with themselves, what if it doesn't work?
yeah,
Why am I going to invest the time and energy? What if what I've put down and planned is not going to work? And that happens a lot in the pillars of our business, the prospecting of our business. People decide not to do something or stick with something because they have this underlying fear in the back of their head that, why am I putting myself through this if it's not going to work?
yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, which kind of flips us into probably our next quadrant, Peter, which is no plan, all execution,
And
right?
that's interesting because there's people that are getting a lot of stuff done that way and they're actually successful.
For sure they are. For
Yeah.
sure they are. So like let's talk through the characteristics of the no plan, all execution. Why don't you rattle off a few things? I'll rattle off a few things. Because I think
Well,
I don't want to call this the most entertaining group, but it is
it's
it
the
is
most
the most
common.
in
It's very
it's,
common in agents
yeah,
that are productive. This is a
yeah,
very productive group,
yeah.
but they've got a big ceiling over their head, don't they, Dave? Huge
They
ceiling.
do.
They
Yeah.
do. And why is that? Well, they're running fast and hard.
So
They
no plan, all
typically,
execution, right? No plan, all
yeah,
execution. That's the
and they're
quadrant we're
running
on. Yeah.
fast and hard. They're making it happen. Um, they're showing up to things they probably shouldn't show up to. They're doing things they probably shouldn't do, but they're just doing so much and so often and so fast it's working anyways. I find they tend to be very anxious, very
Mhm.
disorganized. They have zero balance in their lives. They're stressed out. They're always I'm gonna get to my workout when I have time, but right now I've got to go do this, I got to do that. And they literally are just, I think they just run from event to event, just as fast as they can, call to call, email to
Yeah.
email, text message to text message, right? And but because they're so ambitious and because they work so hard, they actually make sales and I think that's true for other
Right.
businesses too. They actually get customers and do business. But maybe their restaurant's not as organized. Maybe, they're not, I don't know. I could go through some possible scenarios, but they're missing a lot of possibilities. And I think these people, what's really interesting is I think they really believe that this is the best way to do it.
This is the group that go, oh, you just don't understand my business. I'm built this way. I get that a lot, right?
Hmm.
But this is also the group that are constantly having turnover in their businesses with team members, staff members, because they've got their battery life is usually so massive compared to others that, and they do crash and burn, by the way. Then when
Hmm.
they do, they crash and burn hard. And it's usually when the wheels start coming off the bus because staff is leaving, team members are leaving, you know, a bunch of deals fall through, but
Or
their
they have
battery
health
life,
issues or marital
health
issues
issues,
or, all
relationship
these things.
issues,
Right.
right? And so that's why I said it's the most interesting group because they don't really have a plan. They're just going for it. And a lot of times these are the people that wear it as a badge of honor. The busyness, the hair on fire, the very chaotic style of communication. It's like, sorry guys, I'm just gonna call it like you guys think it's cool. It's not cool. Like it's working and you're getting some success, but it's like you're also not seeing that there's so much collateral damage around you quite often. It's not, and like things like you said, like health or relationships are usually taxed or stressed because of it. And and it's a little tunnel vision in the sense that like there is a better way to do it. You can take all this execute because the thing that's impressive to me is their ability to execute. That is like impressive to me. That I look at, I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, that's amazing. That battery life, that like energy, the passion, that's a talent. But there's a ceiling on it.
Hmm.
You can't scale, right? And a lot of times that's because there's no time to slow it down and to plan and look long term. Last time you and I had a conversation, Peter, was about vision, right? And we said it's like, hey, if you're really going to have legacy and vision and an exit plan out of the business, or whatever that looks like for you, it's like you've got to have a plan to do that. And the folks with no plan and execution, there's so much that's impressive about it, but you're stuck. You said at the beginning, you got a ceiling on it. There's a
Hmm.
limitation because without the people around you that are you're planning with to grow this thing, without a vision for the where this thing goes, you're kind of just a hamster wheel all the time. You're in there, you're not getting
Hmm.
out, and your success is limited. And but
Hmm.
the crazy part about that, Peter, is like, as I know there's people who disagree with us, the crazy part is the success is limited, but it doesn't mean the success isn't massive. It's just not what it could be.
Hmm.
And I don't know. And some people are okay with that. And that's okay. Again, that's like,
Well,
but
it's
it's just
addictive.
evaluating.
A lot of people are into that whole frantic lifestyle because it's addictive. It is. I mean, we know that. I
I
mean, real estate as a business is addictive. It just is. I think owning a business is addictive because
Yeah.
it's just going from like excitement to excitement. So it's really kind of fun that way. But it's not healthy and it's not sustainable for long periods of time. And it's
I,
not
I think the
something that,
sustainability is the key part there. It's like, is it sustainable? Is really the
yeah,
part. And then, like you said, and maybe it is healthy. Maybe they're like so good at executing on their health and their wellness that the health isn't. But then the other part that comes in for me, Peter, is like, are you doing this to escape something else?
oh,
And I see that a lot where it's like it's all work and it's all business because I don't want to deal with this, whatever
yeah,
that might be.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
not going to sit here and place judgment on people, that
No,
especially people I don't know.
you
But
laid it
but
out
I do
perfectly in
think
the
it's
beginning.
worth
I bet you everybody on this podcast right now has a little bit of every quadrant in them, and that's true for
for
all these
sure.
personality tests and everything.
No, for
But you're
sure.
going to fall into one of these more than the other, and we all do.
Yeah,
Like,
for
would you
sure.
think you're more of a planner, executor?
I
What
think
how
I'm
would you?
more. Yeah, I think I'm more of like, oddly, like I'm more of a set up the systems and have this. You know this about me. It's like even doing this. I'm like I want
Mhm.
to like engineer the whole thing before I dip my toe in the water. And I'm learning that like executing and doing, I don't have the fear of failing. I just get too caught up in the like
Perfectionism?
structure. Yeah, a little. I've got some
Yeah, yeah,
perfectionism for
yeah, yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
for
and I
sure.
probably tend to the other way. I'm probably more than just let's go. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes
Yeah.
us a great combo because I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's just do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
You're
I've always
pushing.
been that way. I don't know what that's about. I just want to see what happens. I'm curious. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as we're talking about this too, then I wanted to just throw this in here. It's like we're talking about these quadrants not from a standpoint of like good, bad, right, or wrong. We're talking about improvement. And
Hmm.
so with the folks that are great executors, no plan, we might be talking to things like, hey, maybe you're escaping something else in your life and you're distracting yourself, right? And but we're also saying in the same statement, it's like evaluate that so that you can find a way to improve that. Because all of these things are have the ability to change. All these things have the ability to grow. And so, for our no plan executors, it's like, hey, maybe this is a chance to grow and like slow down for a second and get a plan in place and see what your plan with some execution. What's your real ceiling? Because I think about that a lot is like the biggest fear for me is not that they're going to burn out or, you know, some of these other things. My biggest fear is they're never going to recognize their true potential. And I think that's the scariest thing is like when you get to the end of this all and you go, man, if I had a plan, I wonder what it like. Maybe that'll bother some people, maybe won't. I would bother me. I mean,
Well,
I think about that regularly.
watch this, Dave. The people
Mm,
that have a plan and don't execute, what are they hiding from? Are they hiding
sure.
from going on stage, being on under the spotlight? Do they feel that
Yeah.
pressure that everybody's going to be watching them, and if they don't execute perfectly, or they don't have the perfect plan, that they're going
Yeah.
to look like fools? I don't know.
Yep.
What is that underlying feeling that's holding them back from just getting out there and doing it? And so there is a lot of psychology in being successful for sure. And
Hmm.
what you and I love, see, I love like if you think about it, we all have character defects and we all have shortcomings. And
Hmm.
so first thing we have to do is figure out what they are. And this little quadrant system that we've devised actually helps you figure that out. And then like you're digging deeper now. Now we're
Hmm.
not just talking about no plan, just executing. Why is that? Why do you keep doing that and not stop for a minute and have, like now we're going to we're going to peel that onion back a little further. And we're
Hmm.
going to get down into this thing now. And we're going to ask each other, we're going to go like, okay, this is what I've been my whole life. I need to change this one thing about me so that I can really have my full potential. I can really, really do what I want to do.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's like I think through all those different groups, right? The no plan, no execution. It's like, okay, you have all these ideas. Why aren't you committing to one?
Right.
Right? Okay, so you have a plan, but you don't execute. What are you waiting for? Why are you not
Exactly.
putting your plan into action? Okay,
Hmm.
so you're all execution, no plan. Why are you not slowing down or taking the time to actually utilize your talents as an executor and get a plan in place? And then our last group, which we'll talk about now, which is, and we said, I think you said, you're like, oh, this is the 10%. I'm like, Peter, I think it's like the less than 1%. Like, I really don't know a lot of folks that fall in this quadrant, which is they have a plan and they execute that plan and execute
Yeah.
it at a high level. And you know what's weird is even as I was saying that, it almost gave me a little anxiety thinking about like, man, like what is that like? To just have a plan and then just like really execute at the highest level on it. And I think I don't know what that feeling is for me. Like I can feel it. I think that's how a lot of people translate. Like it almost feels too rigid. It's like, well, if I have and I think this is actually something you're really good at. Maybe you don't even realize that you're good at like, and I think about this just like from your health and wellness regimen. It's like I look at you as somebody that's like got a plan and you execute that plan pretty consistently and pretty well. Do you feel that way about yourself, or is that just like the optics from the
Yeah.
outside?
It's funny because I think success is in the routine, and I think routines are very, very important. But I think people again get afraid to commit to a routine because they're perfectionists about it, and if they can't be 100% perfect in their routine, then they don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm 85 to 90%. You know what I mean? I'm not 80, I'm not 100, but I'm 85 to 90%. Probably more 90% than 85, to be honest. And part of that is because it's authentic. I love it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I want to
Hmm.
do that. But here's something interesting, and I hope I can express this right. When you were talking about how small a percentage of people that actually have a plan and execute and do it really, really well. My head went to billionaires. My head went to people. I mean, like, I have no idea how you could be president of the United States. I have no idea. I mean, this, like, I mean, you're dealing with like all the countries of the world. You're dealing with all the
Hmm.
people in your own country. You're dealing with all this stuff, right? I don't know how you do it. And so to be able to execute on your plan means it's probably not as rigid as we think. It's probably a lot in, we can get into this a little bit on another call. It's got to do a lot to do with once you have your plan, how do you get it done? How do you execute it? And then there's got to be a lot of delegation within that. There's got to be a lot of support within that. There's got to be a lot of things in with that so that because these people that are like really executing their plans well, they're not doing everything themselves.
No, they're not. They've got
They can't be.
support.
Yeah.
There's support. And as we were talking about the no plan but all execution people, that's where I was making the comment about um, you know, losing staff or turnover of, because of just the chaos that people just can't, live within. That's part of that moving out of that world is like, hey, if you kind of bring down the temperature for a second and get a plan in place and solidify the people around you, this will help you move to being able to execute because now you have other people to execute the plan for you,
Right.
not just you. And that's
Right.
important. That's a really important kind of success curve statement.
I agree with it. I agree with that.
And what else is interesting? What you just said is you said, I execute my plan 85 to 90 on the health and wellness. You said it's more 90. And then you said it's because I really enjoy it. This would be kind of my invitation to folks as we kind of wrap up this discussion is, and this because of this whole perfectionism and the like, what if you were to just go out right now and execute your plan at 80%? Like, how would things change? Because I think, like you said, when I think about executing a plan, my brain is instantly 100%. And I don't know really, like, I think high level is probably 85% and above. If you're doing 85% of the work and above and execute, like, that's pretty darn good. Like, that would put you in a very small. So it's like, even just notching that down, like, hey, if you execute 80% of your plan right now, how would things shift around you? I think the shift would be pretty massive.
Massive. Massive. Think about this. There's somebody I work with who we were in our business retreat the other day, who is probably, I think, one of the busiest people in the company. It has to be,
Mhm.
no question about it. And someone asked him, how do you get everything done? How do you return every call? And do you know what his answer was?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
Yeah.
Now, that would drive me wacky.
Mhm.
And yet, this person is extremely successful, very good at what they do. Nothing unimportant doesn't get done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be learned from that.
Wow, and that's probably a whole nother that's a whole nother call for us to talk
But
about,
there's
like,
your 80% right there, right?
well,
They're
right,
out.
because not
Yeah.
not everything is equally important, urgent, right? Which is a whole
Yeah.
nother matrix of things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, but what if you could get to 80, 85% of your plan executed daily? It'd be pretty good.
It'd be good. So
So
having a
I
plan
think
with no execution,
no plan, no execution, no good. Get those
having
ideas on a
having
paper.
a plan with execution, without execution,
I mean,
it's good.
getting
We
ready
can
to get
talk about
ready.
it. We can have great discussions. We can philosophize
Mhm.
around how it's going to work or not work, right? We can really brainstorm, but nothing's going to materialize.
Nope.
Executing without a plan, well, works. But are you hitting your full potential? Is it really?
It's like the brute force. You're just like powering it through, but you're
Yeah.
limited. You're
Yeah.
limited to something's limited there for sure.
Yeah. So how
And
about
then
becoming a person that plans and executes?
there it is.
The magic,
There it is. That's
the
the magic.
elixir.
Yep.
Mm,
All right, Peter. Thanks for the chat. That was good.
that was
I
fun.
think yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch you next time. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully you kind of discovered what quadrant you're in and kind of think about how to move it forward, because that's the only thing that really matters, right, Peter? As long as you're
Yeah.
just getting a little better each day, one foot in front of the other, that's the name of the game. All right, guys. We'll see
All
you
right.
later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.